This is wide open, AJ. This is a wide open draft.
Yeah, and we have no idea what they're going to – yeah, we could say they don't have, like, the biggest name recognition. It might not be the deepest draft, but we could see a ton of superstars come out of here. We don't know.
Honestly, we don't know who's going to be great, okay? No. Nobody has a clue. That's why the draft is so ridiculous, and we call it the spectacular. But normally going into the draft, there's some massive storylines.
Oh, yeah.
Huge. All right, here we go. This is happening. These two are dancing. They're tangoing. This year it's like ones, we think, it was minus 2,000. Now it's minus 1,200 after a Reddit report of Will Levis telling people that the Carolina Panthers are taking him, changed the odds for the number 1 overall pick dramatically. He was plus 4,500. Then he was plus 500 this morning at 9:30 a.m. Plus 4,500 to plus 500. You bet $100, you win $500. You bet $100, you win $4,500. That's the difference in those two things. Then it goes up to plus 600, then up to plus 700. It seems like the Reddit report might have been accurate, but what Will was saying to people was not, because the odds on Bryce Young going 1 still are ridiculously high. Yep. But we don't even have a clue about that. Normally we'd have a little bit figured out. We know nothing. We know shit about fuck coming up on Thursday, and it seems like we're not the only ones.
Yeah, in previous years, it definitely feels like we had a much better idea, and at least that the draft had a little more hype around the players. But like Jackson, Smith, and Jigba falling out of the top 10 to the teens, like how is that now?
There's no good wide receivers.
Yeah, how does that
Jesus.
work?
I watched that guy do a couple combine drills. He looked real smooth. I'm talking, he was plucking balls.
Well, the funnest part about that is what he had 200, 300 yards in the Rose Bowl when Olave and Garrett Wilson were both on the team as well. So, and those two were probably 1 and 2, I believe, in rookie voting, or 1 and 3 in rookie voting last year. So he might be good. He might be good.
He might be able to be a good football player.
It might be just hype, but the Ohio State wide receivers coach, who we definitely know, and I am forgetting his name, Brian Hartline, he said he listed out his top 5 wide receivers he's coached, and he might just be saying this because this guy's going to the draft, but he had Marvin Harrison Jr. 1, Jackson Smith and Jigba 2, and then I think Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Terry McLaurin.
For instance, Marvin Harrison Jr.
is a dog.
Next year, if he's not the first wide receiver off the board, we'll be incredibly surprised. That's the shit that's happening with like Will Anderson. That's happening with fucking C.J. Stroud right now. Like just these stories that we've just heard for years and years is just like change immediately 1 week before draft. It's like, where'd this all come from? None of us know. The draft is absurd, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, so Marvin Harrison Jr., like next year, we have so much time with this dude. I'm sure that he's going to go through a phase where people are going to be knocking him and saying, oh, the guy doesn't have top-end speed, even though he runs a 4.25 or something.
You remember he wore those Louis cleats that had a watch on it.
That's a problem.
When did Will Levis just join the conversation as C.J. Stroud, like clearly? Because Anthony Richardson was in there a little bit. And hey, listen, the Colts might end up with Will Levis. I'll be pumped to have him. He's jocked. Obviously, he works hard, and he's committed. Can he play NFL quarterback? We shall see. Has it been the interview process? Has it been the film? What have you heard of why Will Levis is seemingly launched into the conversation, like maybe the number 2 maybe the number 1 overall pick, as Reddit was reporting today? What happened with Will Levis, you think, during this process?
Yeah, I've learned something over doing the draft stuff. Never dismiss anything. I don't care if it comes from Reddit. I don't care if it comes from the postman. I don't care if it comes from the guy who served you your sandwich at the restaurant. There's nothing a sure thing at this point. So you don't ever dismiss anybody. But I think Bryce Young's the first quarterback. Will Levis could very easily be the second quarterback. I've heard he's actually had great meetings with teams, and he's well liked by a lot of buildings. The connection with the Colts, there's no like natural connection with saying, well, the offensive coordinator coached him here and this guy likes him here. I just have heard from a lot of people around the league, mostly from people outside the Colts building, that they are hearing that there's a bunch of fans in that building, and it's been that way for quite some time. And maybe that's because they assumed Stroud wasn't going to be available, and they convinced themselves that Levis was going to be okay at 4, and we're fine with Levis. If Stroud and Levis and Richardson are on the board at 4, I've said I think it's the most intriguing pick in the entire draft, Indianapolis. And I would not say any of them are a slam dunk right now, but I keep on hearing Levis from other people around the league who are looking in and talking about the Colts.
Yeah, Levis is the favorite to go 4th overall. Now, once again, is that because Stroud will not be available or Anthony Richardson won't be available? We'll never know. And the odds, people are all trying to keep up with what we're trying to keep up with, which is just information. Sportsbooks can be had during the draft. These odds swing 1,000 points overnight over a rumor that comes. So they're trying to ride the wave alongside of us. We'll be pumped to see.
I'll tell you this.
Go ahead.
I'm going to add one thing, and you're right. The sports books, it's hard for me to because I talk to all the GMs and they don't know, because if number 3, if Arizona trades out and say Tennessee moves up, or say we have some wild thing and someone else moves up and the Raiders, the whole thing is in flux. Now I can say with confidence, I'll name 27 of the 32 guys taken in the first round because I know the boards. I know most of them. I know I can name you 28 there. But if you're asking me to attach them to teams, if there's a trade up top or if there's a shocker up top, it completely changes everybody's board because based on who's available. It's a very hard thing to nail team and player in this draft because there are a few blue chip players, and Pac-Man's guy is one of them. Jalen Carter is one of them. And so is Bijan Robinson. But those guys are not going to go 1-2 in this draft. So it makes it really interesting as far as who likes who and where. I think it's going to be we're going to get the right guys up there, but we might not have the right matches as far as the mock drafts go.
Let's not self-handicap already, okay? Because
I'm not making excuses.
You were the best mock drafter. You were the best mock drafter. Like, we documented. We did scoring. We kept track because our guy, if he ended up top 3 out of all the mock drafters, had a $10,000 bonus on the line. So we literally kept score. You won, clearly.
Handily.
So, you should be so whenever you're speaking, we're listening very clearly. I do like to go, I'd get 27 out of 32 who's going there because I know all the boards.
Okay, I'll nail that. I'll get you 27. That's
I think that is points, though. In our system, that was points.
Glad you brought up Paris Johnson at 4 because I saw you do that draft, and I saw you had him there, and then I saw you had Bryce Young at 1, Tyree Wilson at 2, and Jalen Carter at 3. So does that mean you're calling bullshit on all the Will Levis odds movement, and where do you think Stroud's going to go then?
I can't figure out where Stroud's going. But one thing I learned working for VSiN and doing this betting stuff for 5 years, not that I bet, is there always is some information. Last year it was interesting. There was a couple players that were at the Circa downtown that were telling people where they were going to get drafted. And people ran to the book to bet that. And, of course, it didn't turn out. And so I don't know what to make of the Levis thing. I don't know what to make of it in terms of why is he going to? Does the Houston Texans now pivoted and said their owner, based on the reaction, are they reacting to the media? You're not drafting a quarterback. If I were Houston, I would take the best defensive player, and I would take 12 and try to move up if the owner wants me to get a quarterback. I don't follow the Levis logic, but there's a lot of people that do like Levis. And so I'm not being disrespectful to the market. I'm sensitive to that. There's something going on that I don't know that somebody else might know. And I talk to a lot of agents, and they don't know. They can't explain it. So, this is a funny draft. I think, I would love to see the reaction of the crew, when these picks come in, because I don't think it's going to go the way everybody thinks it's going to go.
Okay, so how does this normally work? We all saw Kevin Costner.
Yep.
Okay. We all saw Kevin Costner and him on the phones when he was on the phones. These GMs know who they're taking, going into the draft. They're they have one person that they specifically want, and then once a change happens, then they got to adjust and kind of go off course. Everybody in the top 5 knows exactly who they want, or they have no idea, you think?
I think it's all scenarios, right? So today, tomorrow, Thursday morning, you're sitting in the room. Okay, let's throw it up there. If this happens, what will we do? Let's throw it up there. If this happens, what will we do? All right, let's make sure we talk to Houston, because if we need to move back, we need to have something. Who wants to move up? So basically what you have is there's 3 boards in the draft room. So there's a draft board, which is which is the players ranked vertically by position and horizontally as it relates to other positions. So every draft board is 2 boards in one. It's the positional board ranked. Here's the best receiver to the guy we would draft at the 7th round. And then the horizontal board, which is, okay, we would take the center over the left, over the tight end if it came to that. It's by position, right? So off on the other side is the team need board, because we know this, no matter what everybody says, at some point you always revert back to your team needs. And you want to make sure you really are in tune to what the team needs are. And then you have the trade board. You understand who makes trades. Howie Roseman, a big trader. Belichick, a trader. There's no sense in calling Mike Brown. He's not going to trade very much. So now you know what teams will trade, what teams move up. You keep a record of it for I have it in a notebook for over 20 years of every trade that's been made and how many trades John Snyder's made, how many times he's moved up, how many times he's moved down. how many times, another GM, Jason Lights moved around. So you know this. So you're sitting there preparing, and you have a cluster of players you would take, and then you have a fallout plan. Okay, if this happens and we don't like somebody, then we're going to trade back, and you got to have that planned out. And that's what's really going on. I think when you're picking in the top 10, you have 3 or 4 guys you hope to get to you. If that doesn't happen, everybody in the league, I think, is praying. They're praying that the quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, and 4.